things. So I have some pictures to share. I regret not recording that night. But I'll still post the pictures. They're not the greatest, but they're decent pictures because it was the first time that I learned how to take pictures of like the stars and stuff. Um, Thank you to the coworker I had that taught me how to do my settings, which I already forgot and have to like look it up again. But yeah, so a while back ago, we went to Joshua Tree. It was in the weekday, and like when we drove through the park, there was at least 2 or 3 cars. I'd say there was less than 5 cars that we saw like on our whole drive in and out. Um, and it was like a night where there was gonna be like I think there were gonna be shooting stars, so that's why I chose to go that night to Joshua Tree to look at the shooting stars. But we didn't see as many shooting stars, and what happened was when we were driving back to LA, we took the back roads and we were driving by Apple Valley. I think it was before we got to like the Apple Valley area, um, and the whole drive there, I kept seeing like there was this particular clutter of stars that I was looking at the whole drive there. Well, the whole drive back, I was looking at this clutter of stars. Because I thought I was seeing like shooting stars, but to me it's like not impossible, but like very rare that why were there only shooting stars in like this really small corner of the sky? They weren't like going across. There's a really shitty picture I drew. The purple are the stars, and the blue is the way that the UFO was flying toward. It was just like a light, like psh, like going in between this clutter of stars, which was tripping me out. And I stared at them the whole time. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like that's weird. And every time I see one, I'd be like, oh my god, like I just saw another one. That's so weird. I don't think they're shooting stars, but I guess they are. Um, and this was for like a whole hour drive, almost an hour drive back home, and then I see it again, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like I just saw it again, and I was like, pull over, like you have to pull over. My partner was driving, and we had our dog in the back seat, so he pulls over, and I kept pointing, and I was like, do you see it? Like it's not a shooting star, like it's there, like it went across, but like it like stopped in between like the stars clutter, and it was fucking crazy because it was like floating. It looked like it was just like floating, like it wasn't flying really fast or anything, which was I don't want to say it should have been like more scary, but it was. I was mesmerized by it. I was just like, whoa, like what are we watching right now? Like what's going on? Um, so we see it float, and then I noticed that it starts like it kind of floats into our atmosphere, and it was really far away, like deep by the stars. Like that shit was far away, but it like floated in like seconds into our atmosphere. Like it just got so close, and I was just like, oh my god, like what's happening? And I pointed out to him again, I'm like, do you see it now? And then he's like, oh, I see it now. Yeah, I see it. It was giant, white glowing orb, and I was just like, whoa. Um, we saw it floating into our atmosphere, and I was freaking out. I was kind of excited because I was like, well, that's so cool. Let me try to get a picture of it. But like if anyone knows when you're trying to take a picture of the night sky, it was like around 3 a.m. or something. I don't know. I'll post the exact timing once I look at the details of the photos that I have. But it was so wild because anyone that takes pictures knows when you change the exposure of the picture or something, like you have to hold your phone longer because it takes a few seconds to take the photo. So that is my only issue that I had, like because my hand was a little shaky, so some things do look moved around, but in most of the pictures you could see all the stars are just in their place, and there's a line in the picture which was the object that was moving, because in the seconds it was not in the same spot, it was moving. um, so then it comes into our atmosphere, and there's like some mountain or hills by where we were parked. For some reason, they look a lot further in my photograph, but we're closer than they actually look, if it makes any sense. Kind of like when you take a picture of the moon on the full moon, because it looks giant, but then your phone shows it like it's further or smaller than it actually looks in real life. Kind of like that. So, it starts floating towards like our atmosphere, the mountains, but then it starts floating towards us and our car, which for some reason I was not scared at the time. Now I feel and I understand that I should have been more like, oh shit, like that's happening, let's go. but I wasn't. I was like, oh my god, like it's flying towards us. Like I was ready to get out the car for some reason. Um, yeah, not very ideal. And then my partner was just like, he just took off driving. He was like, we're getting out of here. Um, and then I feel bad because I made fun of him for a while, saying how like why was he scared and why did he take off. But as soon as we started driving, it started floating back, and it was like on top of the hills or like mountains, and then I saw it go behind the hills or the mountains. It looks like it did land behind the hills that were there. So that was very trippy. And the second time that we went like to Joshua Tree following that event, I wanted to pull over in that same spot. Um, and when we're driving back, we're the only cars driving that back road to LA, and for like it's weird because we were about to like pull over because I was like, oh, like can we like hang out at this spot for a while, in case I see something crazy in the sky. And there were two cops there. Like it was like a off road into like the mountain or hill over there, and there were two cops hiding like behind the road, which we kept driving for that reason. But like I can't help but think that is weird, because out of all the places that the cops will be, why were they on that off street where I seen a UFO before that was about to fucking follow us? Um, yeah, it's weird. I can't wrap my head around it. I think it's super weird. Like maybe it is just a coincidence, or maybe it's not. And then the cops did follow our car for like 30 minutes or something. One car, well, they were both behind us, and then one at some point one of the cops passed us, and the other one continued to like follow us a while back, which is also kind of creepy because like there's no other cars in the road, so if the cops did something to us, like no one would have known our location or anything, or that something happened to us because we're in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, I'll post the pictures after this or in between this. I don't know the order I'm doing this. This is us before we headed out on our road trip, and then my dog while we were putting gas. And we ended up pulling off to like some road outside of Joshua Tree because the entrance was closed. So this is the road. It was like very dark, but the long exposure allowed me to take these pictures and make it look like it was daylight. Alright, so these are the pictures I took. This is when I first saw something before zooming in, and I know some of the pictures are blurrier than the other ones, but it was like pitch black, so the fact that you could even see the stars is a big deal. Right here, it's where you could kind of start seeing it. So this is a star clutter where I kept seeing things flying, and then as I keep taking pictures, you'll see that you could kind of see the UFO moving through the sky. I ended up zooming in, I believe, in the other pictures. So these were when I could barely see it. And then I started to zoom in, which is stressful because I realized it was getting blurrier. You could see on top of the mountain here on the last picture. I might not post them in the exact order because how they're saved on my phone. Okay, right here, you see all the other stars? They're kind of still, and you see the light moving across, which is the UFO. While I was floating down into the atmosphere, that's the line that you see right there. Because you see all the other stars are just stars, and then it's just like a swiggle or swivel because the UFO was moving as I was taking my pictures. And with the long exposure, you see where it started and where it was at the end of each picture. Yep. This one's kind of blurry. And then it gets like it's pretty bright. And then I will circle and show you guys where it ends up being. You could see it moving a little bit throughout the mountain, like it's like in different spots as I take each picture. I don't think I took any pictures when it was approaching us because I was kind of processing what we were doing, but you could see it floating right on top of the mountain. And it was not there in my other pictures in the beginning. There was nothing there. So you could see like the big orb, and it was really, really big compared to like these pictures. Okay, so I try to filter out some of the pictures. Is like normally, so the first picture is the one I took, followed by like a close up that's filtered, so it's easier to make out the UFO that followed us. Or at least it was going to follow us, and I'm glad it didn't follow us down the road because that would have been actually scary. Even though I thought it was really cool that it was coming towards us and I wanted to get out of the car if it did, which is a terrible thing to do, probably, but you know, I was mesmerized and super excited that this giant ass thing was flying towards us. And I think like the main reason why I was okay leaving was because my dog was with us and I cared too much about my dog. Um I wasn't trying to let my dog, I don't know, potentially be exposed to radiation or some weird shit, you know? So yeah. These are the pictures that I took, and it was an experience, you know. There was a similar situation we had where there was a UFO actually a lot closer to us, but I think he was too focused on the road to pay attention, and it was just me that was like, whoa, what's happening? Yeah, so these are the pictures. Enjoy, let me know what you think.